SEN 1170 Breakfast with Vossi and Brandy this morning. Matt Russell. This Friday we are drawing the Club Med Caller of the Year. Someone is going to win that family trip for 4 to Bali. Need to get away? Choose Club Med Premium All-Inclusive Holidays. Visit Club Med online or go to your local travel agent. Let's bring in a man who's played Test cricket for Australia. In fact, his first Test was against India. His last Test was against India. Nathan Hauritz, welcome to Brekkie with Vossi and Brandy. The outrage about the Australian performance in the first Test in Perth, was it on the mark or over the top, Nathan? Good morning to you.
Morning, gents. Look, it's so hard, isn't it? You know, like we're expected Australia to always win, and then I think it's only like the second Test loss of Pat Cummins' career, and calling for heads and things changing. But look, you can't win every game. Yes, it is a disappointing performance by the boys, but you know, look, they're a pretty organised bunch, well run by Ronnie, Dan Vittoria, and Pat. You know, look, I think they'll be looking at ways to overcome the next one for sure.
It's interesting. So you've been there, done that. So you've been in the dressing room. So what Pat Cummins said publicly doesn't hold much with our audience, I've got to say, Nathan, saying that, you know, there's not much to be, you know, we're not worried about it. Well, we're worried about it. Behind closed doors, how tough is the talk and the accountability?
Look, I think it'll be a really interesting time for the boys. You know, there's a few batters there that haven't been scoring runs for a while, you know, and they've been backed heavily by the selectors. And look, that's the only thing they can do. You know, they're not going to come out and spray them. It's going to be, look, I don't really foresee anything major changing. But look, probably what I do envisage is, you know, maybe the idea of, like, when they're under the pump, you know, some of the tactics that were used. You know, like I think a few of the Australians didn't enjoy some of the tactics, but those Indians batted incredibly well. You know, and Bumrah, he's world class. You know, look, and just had a rub of the green with a few things and really put us under pressure.
Nathan, can we stay the course with this current top order batting lineup at least through the Adelaide Test?
I think they will. I don't think that a selecting group would go into a Test series with only one Test in mind. You know, look, I sort of feel that, you know, you never take a Test nation lightly or anything like that. And India's second best in the world coming off a 3-0 loss. But, you know, to go in with the idea that if someone fails, they're moved on, I fully think that they will stick with that top six. Look, I think the biggest loss in that side is probably Cameron Green, and not for his batting, but just really for the impact he can provide as a bowler, you know, bowling 140 k's an hour. You know, and whether that's a discussion that they can sort of try and manipulate and get another bowler in there, because the workload that Stark, Hazelwood and Cummins all face, you know, Gaz bowled really well. Sometimes you just need that little bit of variety. You know, whether there's anybody out there, you know, Bo Webster or someone like that, but I don't really see anything changing.
Yeah, Webster's certainly putting his hand up. And again, another day for him to see if he get a really big bag on the top of a half century in the first innings against New South Wales, specifically on Marnus Labuschagne. Now, Gerard Whateley on this station, Nathan, you know, he's not one who is, he's not in the market of the clickbait headline. He doesn't go for outlandish headlines. But his criticism of Marnus is very damning, saying it is evidence of a scrambled mind, the technique is in decline and not working, that he needs to go back to Shield cricket to find himself. Now, do you share that? How long do you persevere with a player trying to refine form in the Test side?
Oh, look, he's not off the mark what he's saying there. But look, probably my question back to that is who replaces him? You know, like you go around the Shield cricket, what decision do they go to? You know, look, Cameron Bancroft and Harris were touted as possible, you know, guys to come in, and neither of them have really set the world alight. You know, you look around, there's guys doing okay. You know, there's no guys getting consistent runs and banging the door down. His technique, look, it is an interesting one because, you know, the way Bumrah bowls, he's wide on the crease, angles in, and just really makes Marnus play every ball. And it's not really his game to start with. You know, he was so successful being able to wait it out. I don't know, like, last 2 years, I think I saw a stat 34 and 24 his last 2 years averaging. Look, it's I don't know how long a piece of string is, but I think it's probably getting tighter. And, you know, look, it's got to be starting to play on his mind and everybody else's mind, but at the end of the day, he is an incredible player, so hopefully he can get it right.
Can I ask you that one too, because you're the elite cricketer here, we're just commentators, myself and Matty, that pressure then, when you're out of form, like Marnus is now, And what if the selectors say, okay, we will give you one more chance? Does that make it even harder to do your job? That the next time he goes out to bat, I really am at my last chance saloon. How's that going to help him?
Nah, look, I don't think a selector would ever say it's your last game. We'll give you one more to see how you go. Look, I think the main thing is, like, inside that group, you know, they keep talking about being calm and collected, and, you know, it's a pretty relaxed atmosphere, and I have no doubt it is that. But, you know, in Marnus's mind, he knows he wants to score runs to contribute, and, you know, like, he does everything he can with the ball and the field and all of those sort of small things. But I do know that when you're in this phase of your life and struggling, all the, like, 50-50 things go against you as well, you know. So you've just got to keep trying to. For him, it's, you know, him hitting balls, whether he comes back, plays grade cricket, whatever it is. It might even be just getting away from the game for 3 or 4 days and trusting that he's good enough and actually really trying to enjoy the experience, which I know he is trying to. But sometimes the game just swallows you up and, you know, like, you get caught in everything that you don't need to.
Nathan, you've touched on the day-night element of the Adelaide Test, and others are saying that day-night feature will play in the Australians' favour, our pace attack. But what about the Indians, Jasprit Bumrah, and the other pace bowlers around him in the first Test? What do you see, or who do you see being advantaged most by the conditions in the second Test?
Look, I think you'd have to say after watching that first Test it'd be India. You know, look, they've got Sharma and possibly Shubman Gill coming back in. That's an incredible batting lineup. Look, our bowling lineup's been the best in the world for the last, you know, however long. Taking 1,000 wickets between them while they've been bowling, and it's just an incredible stat. But I would say that there's probably more pressure on the Australian batters. You know, those conditions are quite tough, but I think it's also important to remember last time Australia played India there, they rock and rolled them quite easily, and someone like Hazelwood and those boys, you know, they're going to have to sort of step up. Not step up, that's not the right word, but they're going to have to probably take charge again and be the group that wins the game, and the batters are going to need to find a way to blunt, especially Bumrah. Bumrah's going to be so hard again. I don't see it getting any easier for that top four.
Nathan, there have been plenty of critics, as is obviously stated, but also some optimism regarding our chances in the second Test. I'll put it on you right here, right now. Does Australia bounce back to win in Adelaide?
I think they compete better. You know, look, it's to win a Test match is incredibly tough. But I think, you know, on that day 4 Test, you know, Trav batted well, Mitch batted well. You know, we bowled really well first innings. We didn't bat well. We lost the game in that first innings. Look, they're going to go back. They're going to have a bit of time to themselves and reflect. But I think they're going to make more of a game of it. You know, and I think, look, the most important thing is who bats better under lights. I think, look, whoever can do that the best in this Test will probably win the game.
Alrighty. Okay, and then what about a series result from here? Now that we know, see, a lot of people had Australia winning 3-1 in the series. Well, okay, India's got on the board early with the one.
Yep.
What's your outcome for the series from here?
Yeah, it's so tough. I got asked this before the first Test, and I was sort of torn just because of the fact that, you know, that top 6 hadn't been batting well. McSweeney coming in. You know, that Indian batting lineup had just been literally whitewashed by New Zealand, and they would have had a point to prove. So it's an incredibly crucial Test because there'll be a result in this unless for bad weather. Australia go 2-0 down. It's going to be very hard moving forward because, you know, look, the wickets in Australia, you know, can be very challenging. I actually still don't know. I can't give a definitive answer. I'm not one of those guys that can say 2-0 or 3-1 or whatever, but I think it's going to be a great series to finish for sure. And
to finish this chat, Nathan, it's 20 years since your Test debut. What are you doing these days?
Look, I still do a little bit of private coaching. I'm actually in the middle of a private session at the moment, but I work in the corporate world, raising capital for public listed companies now, and do a bit of networking and speaking gigs, all that sort of fun stuff, you know. So I still keep a very close eye to the cricket. Love the cricket, love helping kids, and it doesn't feel. I lied. It does feel 20 years to go since I made my Test debut.
Life sounds good, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, and thank you
guys.
Thank you for your honesty this morning too. If you don't know, you don't know. Like, I mean, that's
a
bit like it is like that though. After the first Test, in particular, now whatever you thought pre the first Test, you seriously, you know, you're reassessing and you don't know.
Nathan,
it's test by test.
I loved your honesty. I asked you, do they bounce back to win, expecting you to say yes because you're a former Australian Test cricketer, but your honest answer, they compete better. You don't know whether they win, but you think they're going to compete better.
That's right.
Great chat.
They could compete better, and Bumrah gets a 10-for.
Yeah.
You know, he's in supreme form. Nathan, really appreciate you coming on the program today.
No problem. Thanks, gents.
Nathan Hauritz right here on Breakfast with Vossi and Matty Russell here on SEN. We're all in the Mr. Whippy caps this morning too, just by the pink Mr. Whippy. Oh, you've gone the dark, you've gone the navy.
Dark
Is it navy
blue.
or black?
It's navy blue, Andrew.
I must say I did like...
I've tried to keep the pink cap off my head.
The pink's 3-1. I did like it early this morning, just having that guest. You can go back on the podcast and hear the interview and the launch of the Vanilla Bean Cups. I looked up at you in the ad break, and you had ice cream on the sunny on the glasses there across the legs. I mean,
and it's on my jeans, and it's on my shoes.
So while I was feasting myself on 5 Mr. Whippy cups, you were trying to conduct an interview and be the consummate professional. Meantime, what you put a spoonful to your
when the kids were young, I dead set got anxiety when the kids had Mr. Whippies in the back of the car because it just went everywhere. Yeah. The seats, the clothes.
Yeah.
You don't give young kids Mr. Whippies in the back of the car.
So the cup works so much better.
As great as the product is.
No, but the cup does work better than the cone.
The cup works better.
The cone in summer, suddenly down the sides, down the wrist.
Yeah.
Got a napkin? No, I don't.
Oh.
You know, use your shirt, then look at that.
Young kids with
onto
ice cream cones.
Yeah, so the little cup's going to work good.
I need a break. I need a break thinking about it.
All right.